OP's father and stepmother are protecting his stepbrother, who has a pattern of abuse towards women. Now an 8-year-old child. My 37M wife 36F is a survivor of SA. This is something that happened to her when she was a teenager. I won't get into details, but I will say that it has been something she has been trying to overcome since I've known her. Well, a few years ago, at a family party, my stepbrother tried to force himself on her. He has a traumatic brain injury from drugs and a car crash, so he isn't quite all there. He did this at my father and stepmother's home in their living room, in full view of his biological sister. My wife pushed him away and left the room as quickly as she could. She found me, and we left the party shortly after. Since then, I have promised her I would never put her in a position where she would have to be in the same room as this person. I explained this to my dad, and he agreed with me, as my stepbrother has had other incidents like this in the past. Fast forward to this week, when a group text between family members indicated my stepbrother would be attending Thanksgiving at my biological sister's house. I called my dad and reminded him that I promised my wife she wouldn't have to be near this person again, and he brushed it off, saying it was a big house and we could just keep them apart. Literally, the first thing my wife asked when she got home from work was, would this person be at Thanksgiving? When I said yes, but it's a big house and we can keep you apart, she told me it wouldn't be a problem because she and our daughter would not be going. To be honest, I can't blame her at all, and I support her decision. That being said, I am in a tough spot explaining why we are going to pull out of Thanksgiving. I called my dad back to explain that we would not be attending, and he got very defensive. He told me my wife was being childish, and that it wasn't a big deal. In his defense, I have not told him about my wife's past as I didn't want to break confidentiality, but I explained that she has a very justified reason for not wanting to be near someone who has sexually accosted her in the past. Well, this turned into a heated argument. My dad doesn't think it's fair that he be put in a position where he has to tell my stepmother that her son isn't welcome, because then she won't want to go to Thanksgiving. I told him that my stepbrother has a pattern of sexual misconduct with women, and that I would not subject my wife to him. There were some more words back and forth, but the core of it is that they are going to my sister's house for Thanksgiving, and it's our choice to attend or not. I feel like I'm in a no-win scenario at this point. People are going to ask why we aren't coming, and I am honestly not sure I even want to come up with a diplomatic answer. I don't understand why this part of my family chooses to treat this person with a pattern of sexually inappropriate behavior towards women to be near the women in our family, which includes small children who are just getting into their early teens. In the end, I have to do what I feel is right regarding the safety and well-being of my wife and children. Comments. That being said, I am in a tough spot explaining why we are going to pull out of Thanksgiving. You really aren't. He knows exactly why you won't be going. He just doesn't care to be bothered anymore. F him. I explained that she has a very justified reason for not wanting to be near someone who has sexually accosted her in the past. Even if her childhood didn't include SA, she's still very justified in not wanting to be anywhere near someone who has accosted her in the past. F him. I don't understand why this part of my family chooses to treat this person with a pattern of sexually inappropriate behavior towards women to be near the women in our family, which includes small children who are just getting into their early teens. You should ask them exactly that question. It's probably a snowball effect. The people who should have taken action and dealt with the son didn't want to or didn't think they could. So instead, they told his victims to get over it. It's not a big deal, and part of them being over it is convincing more people to be okay with it like they are. Who needs to be diplomatic? Insert name previously sexually violated my wife in front of other family members. We will not attend any family event said person is at. Furthermore, I would suggest you adopt the same mentality before your wife or daughter is sexually violated. Be honest with your family when they ask why you aren't going. You don't need to talk about your wife's past in order to justify not wanting to be anywhere near someone with no impulse control and a history of SA. Taking such a big stand could also prove to the rest of the family that it is a big deal that they should take more seriously. And maybe that will help prevent someone else from ever having to experience SA from him. Most SA occurs between family and friends, in part because no one wants to believe it's possible for someone they know and love to do something so horrible. Your first mistake was when your father said it's a big house, and we will keep them separated. Your response should have been, in that case, we will be unable to attend. Your wife shouldn't have had to make that decision. How are you in a tough spot? If people ask, be honest. You don't need to sugarcoat anything. Speak the truth. Your wife's past history is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it happened once or 1,000 times before. This is not a situation where he is innocent, and she's projecting onto him. He actively assaulted her. That is all the justification you need. Your dad doesn't have to relay any messages. You can text the group chat that your family will not be in attendance due to your stepbrother's actions. Your father has made his choice. You can make yours. They know what he has done. They don't care or think it's a big deal. You don't need to further explain or argue. Stand up for your wife. Be on the right side of history. Update on TrueOffMyChest. My father and stepmother are protecting my stepbrother, who has a pattern of assault towards women. This is an update from my previous post, where my wife didn't want to be in the same house for Thanksgiving as my stepbrother, who has assaulted her in the past. I'm going to try and write this as straightforwardly as I can, but I'm really heated right now, so that might not happen. To begin with, I want to thank everyone for their comments and support on my last post. We ended up not having Thanksgiving at my sister's house, but instead at my wife's cousin's house. A lot of people thought I should have never offered. It's a big house. We can keep you and him apart, as an option to my wife, and you all were correct. It was breaking a promise I made to her, and I have since addressed this with her and apologized. This morning I called my dad and tried to extend an olive branch after everything we had said the previous week by telling him I just put a new TV in the basement we are finishing, and he should come over and watch football tomorrow. He told me that's fine, but at some point he, my stepmother, my wife, and I need to have an adult conversation because feelings were hurt. I didn't really care for the tone in which he said that, but I am a little sensitive at this point. He then goes on to tell me that my stepmother's 9-year-old daughter recently had an incident with my stepbrother, and while I didn't get all the details, it sounds like it lines up with what my wife had experienced. He then tells me that this little girl didn't want to attend Thanksgiving either, but they told her they would keep her safe and to try and be brave. She ended up going and having a good time. My dad then made it sound like my wife had been more childish than a 9-year-old girl. The entire time he is telling me this, my brain is going through a level 5 meltdown. I lashed out at him, saying that he didn't ask a little girl to be brave. He coerced a child into facing a family member who had or attempted to ESA her. I told him they are insane, and this is going to continue until the absolute worst happens. He told me we should be able to talk about this like adults, and I told him he was not acting like an adult. I made it clear that under no circumstances would my family ever be in the same room as this person again, full stop. Somehow members of my family think I'm being too harsh and I should stop being so incendiary, as it only goes to hurt more feelings. It seems like they are only going to give a damn when this guy completes the creepy, touchy uncle cliché and actually essayed someone. I'm going to be 100% here and tell you that their feelings mean nothing compared to the safety of my wife and children. I keep being told that I need to sit down and talk to my dad and stepmother about this to find a solution. I don't see a solution because this guy never comes near my family, or I bend and force my family to be near this guy. In my last post, a lot of people thought I should just go to NC, and I would really rather not do that as I do love my dad and stepmother. I swear they aren't bad people, but are doing some real heinous SHT that, for some reason, they can't perceive as wrong. However, after this last bit, I'm not so sure anymore. Comments. You need to call CPS. Call CPS immediately. Do not let a child go through that without that bastard getting punished. The day will come when he will be someone who is not family, and your dad and stepmother will not be able to cover it up, and he will end up in a jail cell. I would point out that if it then comes out that they knew that your stepbrother has a history of assaulting children or women, and covered it up and coerced his victims to me around the guy that could open them up to civil lawsuits, which would wipe them out financially, no jury would ever find in their favor. Frankly, I would send a mass email to your family and rip the band-aid off of the situation. I would point out that the stepbrother has a history of SAA of 2 known victims, 1 adult and 1 minor child, and who knows how many more victims there are out there. People need to know that it is not safe to have your daughters or other family members around him. Now that your dad told you that he assaulted the 8-year-old, I would report the situation to CPS. Not only was the girl assaulted, but according to what your dad told you, the child was coerced to attend a family function with her assaulter. The key is to find a way to start getting his behavior on the record with the authorities. Unfortunately, your wife may have to talk about her experience with him. Your father just rationalized a 9-year-old getting SA. But he's a good person. Are you effing kidding me? I hope that little girl has someone to advocate for her, because everyone in your family is failing her right now. Good people don't set the stage for SAers and child attackers. I can appreciate that you are familiar with their more redeeming qualities, but to segregate those qualities from their enabling is really nothing more than mental gymnastics. They are facilitating abuse, harassment, and assault, pacifying his victims so that he has easier access and decreasing the risk of consequences for him, not his victims. Slice it however you like. They have made themselves culpable. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.